Hello, this is Kim Serafini, the founder, CEO, and creator of Positive Prime Technology. It is my honor, privilege, and pleasure to be here with you all today and a very special guest, Dr. Margaret Evanow. This is going to be a really wonderful masterclass, an intense dive with the opportunity to ask Margaret, what are her real intentions behind her magnificent Positive Prime session? What does she actually really think of Positive Prime? Before we dive into that, and I know that she's got some really fabulous advice and wisdom and suggestions for all of us on how do we actually focus on what makes ourselves feel better and brighter, what allows us to help others to feel better and brighter, what roles do we have, what contributions can we make. And so I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Margaret Evanow now, who's in Southern California, whilst I'm down under here in Australia. And I'm going to ask her, who are you really? I think that a lot of times people need to understand what qualifies you to actually be here with us. Tell us a little bit about your credibility, your history, about who you really are, what it is that you do, why you do it. Allow us to get to know you. Okay, so handing it over to you. Mwah.
All right. Sounds like I have a second personality or something. Get to know who I really am. So I am a psychologist and recently graduated in 2018 with my doctorate. I have worked in mental health, though, since I was 19 years old. So I have worked in group homes, I have worked in schools, and I've enjoyed the human contact. One of the things I've learned as I've kind of grew up in mental health and all different kinds of personal development aspects of mental health is that human beings really do have a life trajectory that often is filled with suffering. And that is not something that I think we have to have. And so at some point in my career, I decided that I wanted to do something more, something bigger. And I was sitting in my office waiting for a client about 6 years ago and just kind of relaxing and enjoying myself. And all of a sudden, I looked across the room at the chair where the client would have been sitting, and I heard this voice in my head said, "This is not it. This just isn't it." And I was shocked because I had worked so hard to get there and to have this private practice that I kind of was turned upside down. I didn't know what that meant. So I kind of went on a journey of trying to figure out what could be next. And what kept coming to me is that the work that I had been doing was really about reprogramming people, helping them change their ways of thinking, helping them come to a very deep level of beliefs and transform those into something that's more abundant, less fear-driven, something that a belief or a idea about life that is filled with abundance, love, joy, awe, and just the beautiful juiciness of life. And so I declared very quietly for a long time that I was going to help reprogram humanity. And I didn't say that out very loudly because for a little while I was afraid of that bigness, right? The huge capacity that was offering me. But I have gained some momentum, and I am working on trying to grow an awareness of the fact that we as human beings really are gifted over at birth a program. And most of the time that program keeps us in scarcity, keeps us in fear, keeps us lacking, and never really reaching our full potential. And I believe in human potential. And so that's really what I am about. That's the real me. I'm also a very happy and in love with my daughter, Mother. Obviously, if you can hear in the background, I love my dogs as well because they are barking at something. So I apologize for that. But so I've been working on those kinds of things. I'm working on a book right now. Actually, the title will be Programmed. And it's about how we are programmed and how we can take some active initiative to change the type of programming we have and how we can do that. Go
Margaret,
ahead.
will you do me a little favor? Will
Yeah.
you get everybody onto the same page about what does it mean when you say programmed? Okay.
Yeah.
And because we've got such a huge international audience, not everybody will be understanding what does it actually mean to be a doctor in the United States, and you say you're a psychologist, and so what does that also mean? Because there are varying professional bodies in Europe, the UK, of course, down under. So just spend a tiny little bit of time giving us a little bit of a perception and a context.
Sure. So in the United States, to become a psychologist, you end up going to school for almost 12 years after high school. So I did it in pieces. I did not do it all in one sitting. I worked up to my master's degree, which is about 6 years of education, specializing in psychology, counseling, and mental health, different specialties. And then when I was 51, no, I forgot. No, I was 48. I decided to go back to school and finish my doctorate. It had been a goal of mine. I had tried and made an attempt earlier, but I didn't quite make it. And so this time I went through it and finished it. So it took about 5.5 years. You have to do your own independent research on a topic of your interest. I chose to look at attachment in adults and emotional intelligence. So it takes a lot of study. You have to actually present your work in front of a committee and have them kind of grill you with lots of questions and explanation why you did this, why you didn't do that. So it's pretty intense, and it is challenging, to say the least. So that's what it takes to become a doctor of psychology in the United States.
Wow. Well, you do me a little favor and help everybody understand what is the difference between traditional psychology and positive psychology and neuropsychology, because you have an incredible uniqueness about you, not only in the quantum field, which we'll get to, but also in neuropsychology. So help us understand what that lens is through which you see the world and help your clients.
So psychology came up as a focus on pathology. What's wrong with a person and how do we fix them? I don't know that there's things wrong with us. I think most of us are attempting to make an effort to cope with some very difficult life situations, or not being able to connect to whatever it is that we're longing for, and that often has negative impact on us. So I have a different view of psychology. I don't like the model of pathology. I don't like to say, well, let me diagnose you on my little pad and I'll tell you what's wrong with you and I'll show you how to fix yourself. I think people come to me complete and programmed, meaning that from birth on, and I know you had asked me to kind of mention this, from birth on, when we're born, we don't have the ability to filter out, oh, mom's having a bad day. The way she's behaving, that's on her. We don't do that. Instead, what we have the capacity to do is to feel what is happening around us. And we can't differentiate very well between mom and dad. Let's say they're arguing or something like that. We can't differentiate between them and us. It's just the experience of stress and chaos, or anger or tension. Even if there's not loud voices, as little ones, we are hypersensitive to the feeling states, the dynamics that are in our homes. And that is our initial programming. We, from that, take some very deep-seated feeling states, emotional states, really, that we don't have labels for at that point. We just know that this is what you feel. This is what you experience. This is what life is, even though we don't have the words for it. And then later, as we grow, the words come. So that's what I mean by programs. often when people are talking to me and they say, I don't know, I've always been this as long as I can remember. And I know we've already then hit that deeper level. This is coming from a deeper level of programming. Those core kinds of experiences that have just colored how they experience themselves in the world. And often that's not a very positive thing. And it's not necessarily that everyone grows up in abuse. Sometimes it's life stressors are just too much for families, or even having a baby is a stressor, and parents are tired, and there's a drain maybe of energy. So many things can kind of impact how an infant interprets, right? Feeling state interprets what's happening. And it also is on a perception level, right? How do I perceive this? But I don't have at that point in my life the ability to understand other dynamics that are going on, other life circumstances. And so I'm just there with a feeling state and a dynamic that I'm living in. So that's what I mean by programmed.
Wow. Now tell me, what drew you into positive psychology and neuropsychology? And if there was something we all are going to benefit from knowing, what is it that we should really understand?
Well, I have always been fascinated by quantum physics. Since I was quite young, probably 18, 19, I started reading books and thinking, this is different than anything that we've ever really understood ourselves to be. And at this point now, forward, I'll have to give my age away, almost 33 years into the future now, we have studies and research from a quantum physics perspective that really changes how we can understand how we function and what we are. So most of us walk around thinking we're just bodies, and we're so much more than that. And that is where positive psychology comes in. That's where neuropsychology comes in. We're understanding that there are many different potentialities that we have as human beings. And one of the things that we are understanding is just how our brain system, I'm not going to say brain, our brain system works. Our entire body, I like to call us a walking brain or mind, because we are connected in every part of our tissue by nerve endings and cells, and there's communication that's going on within our own bodies. And we actually have different neuronal cells in our heart that operate differently than the ones that are in our brain, and also in our gut. So our microbiome actually produces some of the products that make neurotransmitters and transports that up to our brain. We are one system, one mind. And from a quantum psychology perspective, that means that we have to start trying to access transformation, change, connection to something bigger, more powerful, the field of energy, in a different way. Cognitive behavioral therapy just isn't enough anymore.
That's like a boom.
Boom.
And it's so true. It is so true. And Nadine's saying it's so true. We've got lots of other beautiful comments, and people here from New Zealand and Southern California, just around the corner, no doubt from you, and from Victoria, British Columbia, and Jersey, and South Carolina, and Florida, and Alaska, and it's just beautiful. Margaret, of course I want to ask you, so what do you see in Positive Prime? Why do you believe in what we're doing at Positive Prime? Why are you proud to be a positive transformational leader within the Positive Prime professional community? And then we're going to really dive into your particular session and what is your message and what are you hoping that people will really experience as a result of creating the time, making the time to actually watch your magnificent Positive Prime session?
So Positive Prime is a combination. It's like an integration of some of the most cutting edge science information we have about how our brain works, and also how we work, and what we are. So I know when I was going through the certification program, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about this in years, and oh yeah, and oh yeah, and I was just like, oh, it brings it all together in one place. The most important thing is that it visually stimulates us, which is how our brain works anyways. I mean, if I say purple monkey, in your mind, you're going to go see a monkey. You're not going to see the words purple monkey. You're going to see something. It's an image, and our brain works on images. And so the images that Positive Prime puts in its special formula of the Duchenne smile, where we are seeing other people with joy and it's exuding from them, that's contagious to us. Our mirror neurons, our brain picks that up and becomes that. And so that helps to raise our affect in a very significant way. Also, all the research that has gone into the canopies and the greenery and how we're really connected with nature. We're part of nature. We are nature. And so that is another way to stimulate us to connect to something that's bigger, that's more encompassing. The colors, the bright colors, are also activating and stimulating. And then what I love about it is the people. I love all of the sessions. There's people that are interacting in ways that are kind, that are showing family love, that are showing beliefs about themselves through what they're doing, what they're eating, what they're exercising, what they're trying to accomplish in life. Getting up to the top of the mountain and raising your arms up, that joy of being a human being is something that we need much more to be reminded of. We are surrounded by negative information. This year has been such a year where it's just extreme, and people are being affected by that. And so I've been asking my clients, take a look at this. It's built on a lot of science, a lot of good quality information about how your brain works, and I use it. I use it when I'm down, like life gets me down. I use it in between sessions to freshen myself up, and it actually works, and it's quick. And it doesn't take an hour or two of meditation. You can get some great benefit in a shift up in your mood just in maybe a couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes. And that is something that we don't really have a lot of out there. Therapy takes a long time, right? Let's do something quicker.
That's just so brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was eloquent, exquisite, exceptional, excellent. I can see Dee Terrell saying, yeah, she totally agrees as well. And, you know, the potential for what we're doing here is really rather remarkable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it really is. I know that what I look at Positive Prime when we engage in that, and maybe we have a session that's about confidence, and we haven't had confidence in our life before, and we're trying to get to a place where we are confident. Positive Prime is like, here's point A and here's point B. This is where I have confidence. This is where I am today. And it's a timeline. How long is it going to take to get from A to B? Is it going to be years? Am I going to have to work on this for years? Could I do it in 3 months? Or could I, in a couple of days, just watching Positive Prime, confidence, different kinds of things that stimulate my belief in myself, can I make a quantum leap where I take point A and B and I bend time and I leap from here to here? And I think that's really what it is. It's accelerating the process. We don't have to wait forever to have the life that we absolutely want to have the qualities, the belief in our own abilities. We can get that much quicker. So I think it's exceptional. How's that?
Yeah, wow, thank you. Look, naturally, I think so, but quite frankly, people think I'm drinking from the Kool-Aid. So, me talking about it being exceptional it doesn't quite cut it, right? There's always just a slight bit of skepticism or cynicism or like, really? Um, I will tell you, Kathy says, a blessing is that positive prime is quick, just like you said so, Margaret. And it can prove itself to anyone that it works in a very short order. She says, yes, it is exceptional. She agrees with you. And Deetrell also says, it's, so flippin' cool the way you've explained. Yes. Montine, I think, Mary, we've got you saying some beautiful things here. This is all about expansive freedom and affecting the law of averages. And yes, indeed, it is emotionally evocative. What we have created with you is truly beautiful. Now, I really want to show everyone. So, Margaret, let's just tell everybody how they get it. Of course, I'm going to do a screen share here. Everybody needs to have their own account. So an account is a private, secure, safe, personal place for you to actually experience these programs that are going to elevate you and cause accelerated learning, as you said, and transformational change that is really enduring as well as positive. And yes, it's quick. First of all, if you're already a member, you might want to go to shop sessions, which is over here on the left, and then go up here into search. Now, because we know that we're with Dr. Margaret Evanow, you can put Marg. Let's just see if it comes up. Oh, look, it does. Or Margaret, or we're really talking about...
I'll answer to Marg.
But that's me just typing only 4 letters instead of 8 or 20. So this is the session that we're talking about, the Universal Pathways to Vibrant Living by Dr. Margaret Evanow. Margaret, will you please help everybody to understand the universal? And whilst we're doing that, I'm actually going to load it in the background, and then we're going to come back and play it. So we're going to press watch. I'm going to go back to my dashboard and I'm going to select it because I already have it as a session. And you'll see that I watched it just a little minute ago. So it's already over in my recently watched area. So I'm going to do this, but I'm just going to stop the share whilst you tell us, what's this all about? Why
universal? So Universal Pathways, 3C Universal Pathways is the name of my business. It's overarching, and the 3 C's are coaching, consulting, and counseling. So I obviously have a private practice where I do counseling, and I totally enjoy that work. But I also have a life legacy work that I'm trying to accomplish on a bigger platform, and that is to help reprogram humanity. So universal means, I was taking just a little play on words, that there's universal emotional expressions. There's some things that are somewhat universal across humanity. But I'm also a quantum psychologist. So there's something bigger in universe than just us. We're connected to something greater. And I wanted to make it very personal. And that's why I spelt it with Y-O-U, universal. You are the universe. You're part of this. You're bigger than what you think you are. You're more and have more capacity than, even if you're informed, right? Even if you're informed, you still have more capacity than you can even imagine. And the pathways are technologies, ways that we can help ourselves to access our best self, our best life, our best romance and relationships, our best health, what we envision for ourselves. They're little pathways. They're tracks that we can get ourselves on, and if we stay on them, they're gonna pay off. They're gonna get us to where we want to go. Positive prime is one of those technologies. I call them quantum technologies. So that's kind of what that is about. It's me trying to reach out in a greater way to get the information out there that there are ways that we can change those fundamental life experiences, those early programs that we have. We can transform them. It does not need to take a lifetime, even though we've developed them over maybe 30, 40 years, we can change those much quicker than we think. So that's
I
what
love
that's
that.
about.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I do. I really do. And of course, for everybody who knows, even though I sit here behind the scenes at Positive Prime as, you know, the founder, creator, CEO, etc., we have an amazing team who actually works with all of our transformational leaders to help co-create and curate and so forth. And I had nothing to do with, of course, and I didn't know until I actually saw that it was going to be about universal pathways, and it resonates so deeply within me. Of course, I believe absolutely in all of this. So I'm going to screen share again, and we're going to watch a little bit of it. Can we talk about what is it that you really want the viewers to know within themselves, and much more importantly, what do you want them to apply and then do?
Okay, so I'll let you screen share. So my session actually covered multiple different areas of human life. So I have health. Health is one thing that most people struggle with. Self-concept is another that we struggle with. Relationships, a belief about what we are and who we are, and what we have the capacity for. And so when I was asked, my job was to give the kind of the overall context, and then to write the actual statements that are involved in each session. And there, if we go through it, there are different statements like that. All that you seek is within. It's simple, but it's really powerful. It's powerful in that often we look outside of ourselves for the answers. And I was listening to a quite famous physicist, Narim Hassan. I can never say it correctly, but a little girl was in the audience, and she's 8 years old, and she raised her hand and she asked him, if I have a question of something bigger, of the universe, how do I ask? And what he said is, you're made up of particles that have all of the information in the entire universe in those tiny little particles, and they are inside of you. They make you up. He said, go inside and ask. And I was blown away. I was like, yes, that's right. We spend way too much time looking outside of ourselves when our answers can be within. And so many of the statements that I make in the session are simple. They're simple. I have one that says, go quantum, yay, go quantum. And one that says, it's go time. And when I say that, I say it with some determination. It's go time. And so for all of us, it's go time now to be able to see how we can connect to each other again in a peaceful, harmonious way, rather than with what we see happening in the world in many different areas, and connect with ourselves, connect with our very selves in that same peaceful, harmonious way. We are often our own worst enemies. We don't have that self-love that says, no matter what, I've got your back. But we need to develop that ability to hold our own hands through life, to be our own best friends. Often we grow up in families that have scarcity. They have a mindset that says, I mean, my parents grew up in the Great Depression, and money was always tight, and there was always fear around it. And somewhere in my 30s, my early 40s, I really got down to business that I was programmed with scarcity thinking, right? I didn't believe I would ever have enough. Even if I always had enough, I never felt I was going to have enough. I was always afraid. And so I got to work. I did a whole bunch of different things that I use to help people, either in my coaching or my clinical work. Auto-suggestions, which is really what we're looking at. These statements are auto-suggestions. There's things that we can tell ourselves that will help us to reprogram our own selves and change our mind. So that's one of the keys here, is that I wanted people to be able to connect to the ideas behind that we have the ability to be greater than we think we are, or that we are in this moment. That if we're struggling with either not having enough or feeling like we never have enough, that there is such abundance within us, and all we have to do is shift over to a new way of seeing things. When we focus on something, it gets bigger, it's more enhanced in our life, it's more up in our face. But we have a habit as human beings of focusing on really negative stuff. Where's the next problem coming from? We need to focus on, what's the most beautiful thing that's happened today? Or what's the thing that moved my heart to feel kindness for another person today? Or what was it that my child did that just made me want to laugh? We need to connect to those things. And when we do, we change our brain. We rewire it. So every day that we look at the news and we focus on the negative, we're wiring our brain to the negative. We are building a brain system of fear, but we don't have to. And it's a choice. We do have a choice here. Many times people say to me, this is how I always was. I grew up this way. I was anxious as a child, right? I was always afraid of everything. Everybody knows in my family that's how I am. And what I'm hearing is programming. And their belief about that is that this is innately who I am. And that's not the truth. We can become whoever we want to be. We have to put a little elbow grease into it, right? We have to do some things differently. But if we harness the different ideas that we're understanding about how we work and what we're actually connected to, we can connect to something much more powerful. One of the things that influenced some of the health-oriented auto-suggestions or phrases that I used, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about how we are not actually one thing. We're a community of cells, and they all specialize and do their own thing. They have their own little neighborhoods, and they're interacting with each other, and that they're, even at a cellular level, there are decisions that cells make. I'm not up here thinking, okay, cell number 532, could you please move down there and get some protein and bring it up here? I'm not doing that, right? I'm not coordinating that. They have some choices that they're making. They have a level of consciousness. And we can communicate with our own cells, with our own bodies. If we're in pain, if we're going through some kind of a health crisis, we can focus on the healing of that area of our body, or the healing of the emotions, the energy, negative often, that's stored in those tissues and that cell, those cells. So this is all cutting edge science that I tried to put into simple phrases, which was quite a task, actually. What I did was I bought a pile of books that was really high, and then I brought another one, and I went through them and thought, what is the gist of this entire book? What do people need to know about this? And so that's kind of how my process went. And it really is about connecting to our cells at a quantum level. All that we need is within. We have more power than we've ever thought we ever had. We have so much capacity. And we need to start harnessing that. We need to start connecting to that. So I totally enjoyed this process. It was actually healing for me in many ways.
Oh, I love that. And indeed, I have actually also found the process of creating sessions really healing for me as well. Margaret, you've done an exceptional job. It is astonishing. I can feel it as well when I watch the session. I do enjoy it. It does actually trigger me in a very empowering way. After I've watched it, I feel enriched. Now, for those people who are relatively new, I'd like for you to explain a little bit. I've been showing it on speed 1. Can you talk about the difference between speed 1, say speed 5, and maximum speed at 10? And then we'll talk about the reshuffling effect, but I'll
Yes.
just speed it up so that people can experience it. And I don't know about you, but I always say to somebody, if it's going too fast, surrender. Try to relax into it. Take some nice big deep breaths and allow it to actually flow through you as if you were swimming through a really gorgeous lagoon in French Polynesia, or somewhere that is a tropical paradise, right? Just literally allow yourself to float and allow it to actually wash through you, over you, so that you let go of the need to read all the words. You let go of the need of seeing the fine details in each of the images, but you allow it to just literally engulf you. Now, what would you say?
Well, I would say that too. But I see when I watch this, I often am trying to help myself shift up or freshen so that I can be ready for a new person and their new situation. And so I do watch it mostly at speed 10. So I want to get as much past my eyes as I can before I have to stop and then move on to what I need to do. And here's why. So your brain can it tracks trillions of bits of little information every single day. I mean, there's so much information that is just tracked by our brain as we're watching. Conscious brain doesn't always have the capacity to track that, but the subconscious brain does, and it is storing things, sorting things all the time. And so the faster you go, if you can tolerate it, like you said, sometimes it doesn't feel good for somebody who hasn't done it before, but the faster you go, the more you bypass the critical analyzing. Oh, I don't know about that, and oh, why are those balls that color? Or our brain gets distracted by kind of silly things. You bypass that, you go straight into the subconscious, and it gets all of that. I like to call it good, nourishing brain food. This is good, nourishing brain food. Positive things, beautiful things, people that are happy, things that are expansive, beautiful people interacting with each other, hiking, eating good food. I mean, this is good brain food, rather than the daily what's wrong with things. Here we are, we're looking at what's good with things. And that the faster you go, the more you can get in in a quicker amount of time. And it sticks. It stays. Right? I know, I believe it was Sean Achor, right, that did the research on positive prime that showed that just, I think, 3 or 4 minutes actually can lift our affect, and it lasts for 6 to 8 hours. Now, I don't know any session that I could do that's about 45, 50 minutes that can always lift somebody's affect. Sometimes people leave feeling kind of crummy from my office, from my session, because we've dealt with the hard stuff. And this is something that they could possibly use even after a session if they're feeling that low. This would lift them up, because we have to balance ourselves out with some good brain food. And that's the positive, the beautiful, the universal pathways to a much better, vibrant life. So that's what I think.
Ah, don't we all love that? I'll tell you, some of the comments over here in the chat in this masterclass really are fantastic. And look at D. Terrell there. It is stimulating benevolent neurochemicals. It's a hormonal diet, and it's absolutely accurate. You're so right there. It's relaxing to optimize reception. Absolutely accurate. I'm going to say that, this is really about truth being truth. Margaret, what I love about you doing just then is encouraging people to really trust and have faith that it is working at faster speeds. Because I think that some people go, oh, I'm not sure it's going to work.
Right.
I really think that I have to slow it down Now, look, sometimes I luxuriate in speed 1 or speed 2, and sometimes I'll actually have it playing on speed 1 whilst I'm having a phone call, because I know my peripheral vision is actually also taking it in. When you think about it, if you were sitting in a sports bar and you had all of those TV stations showing all these different programs, you're actually receiving every single bit of information, 11 million bits of information per second. You're taking it all in. And so you're right, you actually have to be really conscious about what it is that you want in life, so that you filter, or your reticular activating system actually filters out all of what is not going to serve you, what is actually disempowering to you. And on the same token, if I'm sitting here on the telephone, I can watch a positive prime session, particularly one of the super mixes, which is hours long, on speed 1 or 2. And it allows me to actually just constantly have this beautiful, gentle, lapping wave just flow over me all the time. One of the things that I really wanted to discuss here very quickly is, and I'm just going to stop sharing, is personalizing to internalize. Like, why do we personalize, and what is internalizing? And then I'm actually just going to show everybody an example, right? So I'm sure you all noticed that you saw my name. In your own accounts, of course, you'll see your own name. Margaret, tell me, what is it about personalizing that actually makes it work, right? And then tell us what seeing our own name does, but tell us what seeing photographs that are meaningful and significant actually do to us.
Yeah. So I actually took mine and packed it full of a whole bunch of personalized photos, my daughter, my dogs, my cat, my plants that I love outside. I mean, all sorts of things. And what it does is, as the slides are passing by and we're seeing all the beautiful positive scenes or people, and then we see ourselves, our brain puts those together. So this, me, is this, right? I'm experiencing the same thing. And so our brain does a lot of associations. And so if I see a beautiful house, and then there's a slide, the next slide is one that I put in of me, and I photoshopped maybe a big, beautiful house in the background. I see, oh, I have a beautiful house too. I can have a beautiful house. Everything is beautiful in my life, right? So we start to own it more as a personal kind of message, rather than these are other people that are happy. These are other people, right? The outside of me. It starts to become, I recognize this as me. So that's much more powerful. We are somewhat self-focused beings. We are very interested in ourselves. So when we see different representations of ourselves next to things that maybe one is, a slide is about beautiful, vibrant health, and we may have a health condition, and then you see yourself right next to that slide. That comes together. You can own the implication of that phrase easier. It becomes yours and not just someone else's. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, beautiful. It's potent, isn't it?
Yes.
And it accelerates change. It accelerates our ability to actually really be in terms of locus of control. Margaret, keep explaining to us about what it takes for us to actually believe in ourselves, that we can and will be successful in making this transformational journey, because we've internalized the messages. And I'm going to actually screen share for everybody so that they can see me actually personalizing this myself. So we all watched it. You didn't see lots of photographs of me. Now, you don't know necessarily what my local resort town that I live in looks like. It's called Noosa, but I have lots of beautiful photographs of Noosa that remind me just how blessed and fortunate I am to live here. I have lots of photographs of my friends and my family. I've turned each and every single one of the sessions into a real gratitude journal, so I'm constantly triggered by that, which I'm really appreciating, so that I'm actually in vibrational alignment with attracting much more that I will appreciate. So let's do that. And also, you'll see that I'm going to upload a couple of my goals. Like, I had Mayumi do something just very recently, and I'd like to do one of these with Professor Kim Cameron, who talks about positive organizations and positive leadership, an amazing guy. Now, I don't actually personally know him, but I really want to be able to, I want to be able to have him contribute to what we're doing here at Positive Prime. So I'll show you what I've done to make sure that I've got that constantly triggering me so that I do what's necessary to be courageous enough to reach out to someone like him, and indeed him, and then follow up and follow through and make it happen. So I'm going to show you how I've actually used some of the goal statements in what I'm doing as well. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yes.
All righty. So I get to edit a session because I have an upgraded account. If you haven't yet upgraded your account, absolutely do so. If I was you, I would choose the signature subscription. It gives you so much more value. The number one benefit, I think, is that you can actually attach 4 other family members to your account if you're a signature member, which is at the $19.99 level per month. So it's really good value, I think, to be able to share it with your spouse or your children, even your nieces and your nephews, or your brother and your sister, or your parents, whatever it is that is important to you. You can have really 5 accounts for the price of 1. And each and every single one of those individuals is going to be able to edit all the sessions that they actually have in their own library. When you are a subscriber, you also continue to earn credits. And when we use credits as a currency to acquire more programs, so you can actually completely build out your library with lots of different subjects and topics. So here I clicked edit. Now, I'm in my personal images. I've got lots of personal images. Look, this is the truth. You can see the number of pages down here. There are 50 images per page. If I go to the last page in my private collection, this is the truth. I have 167 pages of personal images. 167 pages of personal images times 50. Anyone do any math? How much is that? That's my signature. I actually took a photograph of it, just like literally took a photograph of it and uploaded it. I'm going to show you how to upload, but this is me and Mike Dooley from Notes of the Universe. This is me and Jack Canfield. I really admire him, the man with Chicken Soup for the Soul fame. But I'm going to go back here to the first one as well. And before I do this, I should click that. There's a photograph of me that I've just recently done a screenshot. Here's me and my eldest niece, Lucy. I'm going to upload, I'm going to add a new image. So uploading and adding a new image means that I'm going to put something new into my private collection. I'm going to go to my iCloud area. Oh, there's Dr. Margaret Evanow. No, you're actually already in the session. See, I've got a photograph of you. Let me see, what do I have here? What do I have here? I'm actually looking for something very specific, and I want to say date modified. Let's just go here and see if I get something different. Whoops, I'm making a mess here. All right, let me get out of here, because there's actually a photograph, and I'm going to find it. But before we do that, I'm going to stop screen sharing, and then I'll come back once I've actually got it. All right, so Margaret, tell me, what kinds of photographs do you have in there, and how many of your own personal goals have you, like, and here's how I do it. I don't know, I'm like not tech savvy, so I just go into PowerPoint presentation or whatever. I do a new goal, and then I literally export that particular slide as a JPEG, and then I upload it. It's nothing really all that sophisticated for me. I know people use lots of graphic design programs to do. We, of course, have a service inside Positive Prime if you want them to look all graphic designed. We're happy to do that. But how many of your goals do you have uploaded in there?
I have quite a few. I've recently honed some really specific goals, and I didn't use words at all. I used just images of them. So I'm gonna share. So one of the things I've wanted for quite some time is a big truck that can pull a nice RV so that I can go traveling with my daughter and we could go have some fun. So I got all of these photos of this great big red Ram truck, and in the window, I cut out a little piece because I do have a graphic design app, and I put a teeny little photo of me looking out the window, and in the back, I have the photo of a Great Dane because I have wanted a Great Dane for so long. So, and then I put that with a trailer, a little picture of a trailer, and in the back, beautiful scenery. So I did a whole bunch of photoshopping. I did a whole bunch of those. Me sitting at a campfire in front of the camper, me doing this, by the truck. And so that's all for just one goal. I put probably 6, 7 different kinds of images, and then I put them in there several times. So I wanted to see them a lot so that I have a belief that that's possible. I told someone very important in my family one time that that's what I really wanted. And she said, oh, that costs a lot of money, and so you're unlikely to get that. And I went, oh, okay. And I bought it, right? I bought the comment. I took it in. It made, I might not ever get that. It costs too much. I went to scarcity, right? That's my old program. So I decided with Positive Prime in my session, I was going to load it up front with, no, this is not only a possibility, it's happening. And as I watch it, I've noticed I have much more sense of, I'll look out in my front yard and I'll say, oh, there's my truck. And I'm getting very comfortable with the idea that anything is possible. From that state of mind, anything is possible. Right? But if I have already closed my mind, oh, you're right, I can't, I won't, it's too much, I've shut that down, and I'm not going to look for an opportunity to make that happen. So that's really what personalizing does. So I have that goal, I have travel goals, I have different things that I want to do with my daughter in there. I have professional goals. So I have this idea of who I want to pitch Positive Prime to and really work with them, because I've had some backdoor information of working with people that are at this place that this person owns, that they're not happy, they're not satisfied, they don't feel fully like the team is on board. And so I have smattered that person's picture and me and Positive Prime, and I've photoshopped a whole bunch of things. And even as I tell you this, there's a little fear that comes up, and boy, that's a big goal, Margaret. That's a big goal. Yes, it is. But how we get to it is by believing we can get to it. Because if I don't believe, I won't take action. I won't take the steps that will lead me to the next best opportunity to get to that. So I probably have like 10, 12 different goals in there. And I don't just put one thing that represents that goal. I put 3 or 4 different things that represent that goal, because it's more variety.
Okay, that's such a beautiful point. Margaret, before we wrap this up, I just want to show everybody I have actually found what it is that I'm looking for, which is not such a bad thing. So let's go back here. And we were talking about interviewing Professor Kim Cameron. So I've actually found the image, and it's here, and I'm going to upload it now. I asked my uni to actually do it as a proper beautiful JPEG so that I could effectively imagine it as already done. Now, I need to say this, I think, for people who go, yeah, but what if he actually never gets back to you, right? I'm not in control of whether he will or he won't. Or he might look and think, oh, she's not all that famous yet. She's not, I don't know, Jay Shetty or Tom from the Impact Theory. I'm not going to say yes to that, right? So here's one of the things that I do. It's here, right? It's right here. And if I want this to really come true, I might actually upload it again, right? I might have 2 of these. So you'll see that I'm just about to upload it again, right? Or I could have already saved several of them and had 5 of them and uploaded all 5 at the same time. When I watch a Positive Prime program, and it has a lot of my own personalization in it. I'll say a little prayer or incantation, as Anthony Robbins might call it, or a energy healing. I'll say, please, 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 please allow me to be in this incredible state of gratitude, and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the amazing things that have already happened in my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of that which I'm seeing. Thank you for helping me to manifest it, to live it, to attract it, to be who I need to be. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of this, and whatever else is even better. Now, the and whatever else is even better actually allows the universe to respond. I'll give you an example. I actually had one in there about a specific government grant that I wanted for business. But the fascinating thing, I'm just going to save this, the fascinating thing is that I've actually been knocked back on that grant, but I got a different grant. And I think it's because I say these prayers like, please allow me this or something even better. And when I was thinking about attracting my soulmate experience, my beautiful romantic relationship, when I was fantasizing about intimacy in my life many years ago, before Cameron became my other half, I used to say, please, please help me to be who I need to be in order to attract someone like this or someone even better. So I never had an attachment to what I was perceiving would be right for me. And I've told this story before, but you know, quite frankly, he was pretty different from the ideal man that I had been imagining. Okay. Now I'm going to select everything here, and I'm going to select everything on page 2, and you'll see that what actually happens is that I can go down and save, and I can go and put, you know, another couple of thousand photographs in your session, right? And I'll watch your session. I know that it'll be amazing. So I don't know if that's helpful, but it's probably not something that I say public often enough, well enough. Whatever you're asking for or aiming for, allow your connection in the quantum to actually deliver to you that or something even better. And if you want to go further, you can say that which is in the best interests of my higher self, because sometimes we think that we want something, but actually if we really believed in divine intervention, there are some things that actually aren't all that good for us, and we don't really need to learn our lessons the hard way all the time, right? So often I'll say, and something that is really and truly in the best interests of my higher self and those I'm impacting, right? That allows me to feel really responsible that what I'm doing is good for me and for others. And that just makes me feel better about my activities, my decisions, et cetera, et cetera. Alrighty. So once I've done a lot of personalizing, I'll dive into your session, and it'll be one that I really love and I luxuriate and I savor because it's personalized, and it's like me having Dr. Margaret Evanow right here, right now, always on my shoulder going, hey, Kim, you know what? Remember, you have the answer within. Hey, Kim, remember, you're really beautiful. Hey, Kim, stop trying to make things hard for yourself. Choose the universal pathway. Right? I need you on my shoulder. You know, when I can't be with really inspiring people, when the sum of the 5 people around me are not just the highest caliber or quality ever possible for me in any one moment, and we know we become like the people we spend time with, I'm going to spend time with you in a positive prime session, right? What a joy, what a gift, what a blessing. And that's really what I hope everybody also gets. You know, when you want to spend some time with Dr. Margaret Evanow because it's actually really good for you, go watch her session, all right? And tell everybody else why her session is really great as well. Don't you agree?
Sure. Of course I do. I love my session.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so we have a little bit of time for a few quick questions. Tell me, while we're waiting for the questions to come in, Margaret, you've often heard me teach that the reshuffling effect is really about neuroplasticity, and you'll see every single one of the flashcards in a different order. So let's just say you have a love of horses or puppy dogs, and you love roses or sunflowers, and there's a photograph of you, and there's a really empowering new statement. I don't know, like abundance flows to me and I am the recipient of that abundance. What happens with this reshuffling from your perspective?
So our brain gets bored. It loves novelty. And if each session was exactly the same order each and every time, probably about the third or fourth time you watched it, you'd be like this, right? And it wouldn't be going in, it wouldn't be doing the same thing. But because it is actually a brand new session each and every time, because it is randomized and shuffled, it's always new. And we can make new associations. So, and when I say make new associations, so I see the rose and the statement of abundance, and then me in a picture. And so I put those together. And then later I might see the rose and a statement of being in love and in a beautiful relationship, and then a picture of me. And then I put those together. What we're really doing when we make associations is we're wiring things together in our brain. A neuron is coming over and growing over to another one and connecting, and it's making new connections. Our brain can transform endlessly as long as we don't have like any major brain injury or some kind of a huge neurological disorder. We can, in good health, in average health, in moderate health, we can rewire our brain. If we can rewire our brain in the specific ways of health and wealth and abundance and love and joy, we can also change and rewire what happens in our brain system. And that's the power of this. The fact that they shuffle keeps us on our toes, keeps us doing new things and gaining new stuff each and every time we watch it.
I love that, Margaret. Thank you. You know what? We've had a lot of really beautiful comments. Patty Krummer says she absolutely does love your session as well. This evening's conversation has been so enriching. It's worth every single minute of the hour she's been with us. Linda Camden says, from the Wizard of Oz, you've always had the power, my dear. And I do love that. Thanks for that reminder. Nadine says she does love the science. Now, there's one thing actually. Sue has said, Margaret has brought up something. Is there a problem with watching Positive Prime for those people with a traumatic brain injury?
Not necessarily. It depends on the area of the brain that might be injured. So that would be much more specific to where the injury occurred, what part of the brain has been injured. So there is some stimulation that after a brain injury, a person has a hard time managing or handling. What I would think, though, is that as long as the occipital lobe is in order and that there's minimal damage, that it actually could stimulate workarounds, what I call workarounds in the brain. So I do have, I have had multiple clients over the years, but I have a client right now that I'm working with that has had major brain injury, and but it isn't in the areas that probably would make Positive Prime overstimulating. And so that would be what you'd have to decide. Where is the injury of the brain? How much have you had maybe some therapy for that, like occupational or other types of interventions to help regrowth? And what is the level of limitation that you have right now, right? So it would depend on where that brain injury is, but for a lot of people, it could actually be quite powerful because it is activating rewiring. And a lot of times with brain injury, if it's in a certain area, we sometimes lose some impulse control, right? This could wire us to a much more positive frame of the world, and take us from irritable, reactive, impulsive to maybe a much more calm, peaceful, and cooperative state. And so that might actually be very, very beneficial for many that have impulse control.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Margaret. For those of you who don't know, we've actually been approached here behind the scenes at head office about our willingness and ability to get involved in clinical studies that examine positive prime's potential impact for those in terms of it being a stroke rehabilitation tool, in terms of helping with children on the spectrum, particularly with autism or Asperger's. And I could go on and on and on. And it's really exciting. Now, of course, in this field, a lot of people compare us with someone like Headspace, but Headspace is a company that's actually raised more than $160 million, $160 million from private investors to actually create. But currently, right now, as we're talking, they have over 70 clinical research studies actually happening about the effects of mindfulness on us as human beings in terms of at work and in health conditions and so forth. So I think watch this space because it's really super exciting. And before we go, Margaret, we actually have somebody who I have connected with who has let's just say a acquired blindness that's getting worse, is one of the most extraordinary human beings I've ever met in my entire life in terms of being very open to lots of traditional and conservative medical research in Europe, but also lots of practices and approaches and activities that are very complementary, alternative, etc., and on the leading edge of technology as well. Do you think that positive prime, and I would love to hear you react to this, from a quantum perspective, can actually be influential if you can't see it? Like, what if your eyes were closed and positive prime's playing?
So this is a reaction, right? This is a response to that. I wouldn't be able to clinically tell you what would happen for that person, but I do believe that when we are surrounded by something that represents energy of a positive nature, it has an impact on us, even if we don't know it's there. Even if we don't know it's there. So we are always entangled with different types of energy. Our emotional state is our frequency state, our energy state. And we give off, they've measured our magnetic field around our brain, around our heart, which is much larger than around our brain. We give off many, many different vibrations that interact with what's around us. And what's around us interacts with us. And so I do think that from a quantum perspective, that there is that possibility. Anything around us can have an impact on us. Now, the music, I chose my music very, very carefully. I went through a lot of songs, by the way. It was a lot of work. The music may also be a conduit for expressing what that session is about. So the music, actually, from my session, it had to be the right thing. It had to move you in the right way. And I think that could also be a conduit for intervention, for, changes and connections.
I love that. I totally agree. I do actually totally agree. And you know what? I'm loving that you actually talked about your music, because every single one of the creators or authors of their own sessions in our shop has the opportunity to have a piece of music attached to their message that is unique to them. And I'm so happy that our software actually facilitates that. When I watched your session, Margaret, I think that I fell more in love with it because of the music that goes along with it. And oftentimes I will actually mute the music. I'll actually literally go and mute the music within the player, but I'll go and actually choose some other music, either from YouTube or from Spotify or something like that. I don't with yours. Isn't that interesting? I don't. I love it. I really do. I love it.
It's a beautiful piece of music. It's awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
It carries you
Yeah.
to new emotional levels. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it might be a little bit esoteric for us to be discussing this, but Margaret, I actually do entirely agree with you. I have at times in my life made sure that Positive Prime has continued playing one of the super mixes, even though I'm not in the room, right? And I have this suspicion that it actually is changing the vibration or the energetic soup that I exist in. Some of what I have manifested over the last couple of years is way beyond comprehension. Like, it's just ridiculous to conceive as a human being living in the real world. So something else has to be at play. And those people who really get to know me know that, you know, I dive pretty deep down there into the, you know, spiritual arts, into the alternative and complementary healing. And I don't know how to prove it clinically, but I think that we can definitely prove that Positive Prime sessions do impact the actual environment that we exist in. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that we took an opportunity to go and actually work with the founder of HeartMath. His name's Howard Martin. He was one of the founders of HeartMath, and we were there in the headquarters in the boardroom in Northern California, and we actually had everybody hooked up, and we saw that we all dropped into heart rhythm coherence much more quickly and stayed there in a very calm way by watching a Positive Prime session when compared to other types of interventions. And what's fascinating is that the founders of HeartMath and a lot of their senior executives are like long-term 20 to 40 years transcendental meditators, right? We're talking like seriously very disciplined meditators, and even they couldn't drop into heart rhythm coherence in a meditative state as fast as they could in Positive Prime. And when we introduced distractions, they couldn't stay in the heart rhythm coherent state, right, unless they were in a Positive Prime session and it was playing. So I think that there's a lot more work that we can do over the years to actually show that there's so much more going on here than we actually think.
I believe so. Yeah.
I love everybody being here today. I really do. Someone has just written here, a truly fascinating discussion. Thank you so much. I appreciate being able to join this session. Thank you to everyone else who's sharing. Yes, music has been vitally important to them. And she's saying lots of love and light for all of us, and rainbows and songs, and all's good in New Zealand. I love that. I love that. I love that. Perfect. Alrighty. I'm going to encourage everybody to go and visit Dr. Margaret Evanow's website. What is that, so that we all know?
It is the number 3, the letter C, then YouNiversal Pathways, just as I spelled it with Y-O-U.
Universal Pathways
.org.
.org. Let's see if I can get it to show up. The number 3, C,
yep,
Universal Pathways .org.
That should do it.
Oh, Mayumi, you cutie, you've already put it in there. Oh, and it does indeed do that. All right, so it's in the chat for everybody here in Zoom. It will be in the description for everybody who watches this on YouTube. Thank you, 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 thank you for the value that you contribute to this gorgeous community of really amazing souls. We are very blessed indeed. I'm so fortunate to know you, and I think that we're going to do really fantastic things together.
It's great to be here and be part of this. I think this is a great movement. We've got some good information and good changing process here. Thank you.
Oh. All righty. Love you all. And come back and make sure you email us. Email Margaret, get in contact with her, follow her, connect with her, interact with her, see what you can do for her, see what she can do for you. Just like create magic. All righty. Bye.
Bye.